Lambo's for the Sports, presented to you by Silent Sports Network with the big brother over here. College football with a lot of upsets, by the way. Well, not a lot, but a big one, big one. Alabama, we both pick Alabama, but they stunk. They lost at home in Tuscaloosa. Former assistant is Steve Sarkisan takes the Texas Longhorns that were number 11. Now they jumped to number 4 in the poll this week, and Alabama drops to number 10. The biggest upset of the weekend. Texas beats Alabama. I think it's a very shocker. Jalen Milroe is, I don't want to bash the man, but he was just very inconsistent. He wasn't good. I'm just, I don't know what's going on. What happened with Alabama, and is Texas any good? Is Texas back? Because I don't damn near think so, because you beat one team, you're all of a sudden back. What happened with Texas? What happened with Alabama, and what's the positives going on for Texas?
Well, everything that we said going into this game was proved wrong. Every single thing. So we were talking about how Quinn Ewers looked a little inconsistent against Rice. He looked inconsistent last year, and he came out and he played very, very well. No turnovers, which is always a good thing, especially going against, at the time, a top 4 team in Alabama. And then on the flip side of things, at least my point was that Alabama had such a successful run of pro level quarterbacks coming through. And the phrase that I used was the train shouldn't stop rolling. I didn't see a reason for that train to stop rolling. And after watching that game, I think the train has come to a screeching halt, brother. That just the inconsistency of his game. Now, obviously, we had only seen Bama play a much lesser opponent, so it wasn't I got ahead of myself a little bit. I will admit that. I definitely got ahead of myself. And I don't have to read it out, but I'm going to anyway. 50% throwing the ball, 2 picks. The run game was only getting 3 yards a carry, which, especially in college football, that's not going to get it done. But to Alabama's defense, you put the offense aside, their run defense was great. Texas ran the ball 37 times, 2.8 yards a carry, only 1 touchdown on the ground, and it came on at the end of a pretty good drive. So I'm not going to go too far one way or another. I still think both of these teams are going to finish in the top 10. I don't think Bama's going to go on some skid and start losing games they shouldn't. This game, I didn't think was too lopsided one way or another. I expected it to be competitive, and by the end of the game, it really wasn't competitive, and it was in the favor of Texas, obviously. The receivers looked great. Quinn was putting the ball in buckets. 2 deep touchdowns were placed pinpoint accuracy, and you can see why the Texas fans are saying Texas is back, but pump the brakes a little bit. They say Texas is back every year after a big win. They're still going to have to come through and play a tough schedule. I don't think that they're going to be the team that replaces Bama in the top 4 for the college football playoff, but it does put some serious red flags in the air as to if our predictions are going to come true with Bama being that 4th team in like we had predicted a week or so ago.
Ladies and gentlemen, the University of Alabama, Nick Saban has not lost an unranked team at home since 2007 when they lost to UNL Monroe, which was pretty shocking back in the days of Alabama. So when Nick Saban first got hired. Ladies and gentlemen, let's not panic on Alabama, okay? Nick Saban said in the press conference it was a test for his players, a test for his coaching staff that you play a good team like Texas early in the season. They played Texas early last year. They barely got by. Now, I know a lot of people say their quarterback got hurt and whatnot, but last year was last year. This year, I give it to Texas. But, ladies and gentlemen, Texas is not back. Here's why Texas is not back. One, there's only 2 games of the season. Second of all, we've seen them slide down a little bit. We've seen them fall off against lesser teams. We see them beat Oklahoma 2 years in a row, like spank and whoop them, and then they lose to Kansas. And then they lost to TCU, and then they lose to another team. So we're not sure. Texas is not back. Let's pump the brakes real quick. Texas talking about we ready for the SEC. Texas, you are not ready for the SEC next year. When Texas goes to the SEC, when the whole, all these teams change conferences, Texas is not ready for the SEC. Texas, you're not only going to play Alabama, but you got to play Georgia. You got to play Tennessee. I can't wait till y'all play those teams. But let's just be realistic here. Alabama's quarterbacks, Jalen Monroe, Tyler Buckner, who was a Notre Dame transfer, who was horrible as hell. He was horrible as fuck. Thank God Sam Hartman just came from the sky and came to Notre Dame, because Tyler Buckner was not the answer last year. Oh my God. And then they have Ty, whatever his last name is. Those are the 3 quarterbacks. Out of those 3, I think Jalen Monroe gives them the best. The reason why, because he's mobile and he's mobile. He made some great impressions. He can throw the ball very deep. My only concern is he runs it before he throws the ball. In a game like this, he had plenty of receivers open. He chose to run. And the Alabama offensive line is not that good yet. They struggle to really block. On some plays, not all of them. You don't expect linemen to block for like 15 minutes. It's not how it works. But it makes the lineman look bad when you run before you pass. But here's my point to all this. Alabama will bounce back. 1-1, okay, great. I see some positives in Alabama. Their defensive secondary also got beat a lot deep-wise, wide open down the middle. I mean, Xavier Worthy with a nice deep ball catch. I think when they were up like 10-3 or something, it was a nice ball by Ewers. It was just nice and pretty. It was up in the air. But the Alabama defense has something to work on as well. It's not just the quarterback. The defense has some work as well. So we will have to see how that goes along those lines as well. With Texas, Steve Sark, excellent. He was aggressive the whole game. I like his play calling. He still continued to run the ball, even though they only had about 2 yards per carry. So I do respect that. But like I said, Texas plays Wyoming next week, and Alabama plays South Florida. It ain't really too much to say to this game. Texas was also the better team. They outmatched. The offensive line was able to move. There wasn't a lot of pressure on the quarterback, by the way, really until like the 4th quarter. So the Texas offensive line did what it's supposed to do. Alabama, like I said, it's not the end of the year. They'll probably still be in the top 4, but I think it gets really nerve-wracking, not for the coaching staff, not for the players, but for the fans. If they lose one more game, they might be out the top 4 this year. And the prediction that I said about Alabama being the top 4, they might be out the window by the time they play Tennessee again or LSU or whatnot. So should they have a quarterback change? Maybe, maybe not. I'm not going to panic on that yet. Let's see what Monroe does against South Florida. I don't think Ty Buckner is the answer at all. Could you give him a shot? Yeah, you gave him a shot the first game, but that was the first game. But I don't think Tyler Buckner is the answer. The Asian guy that just throws a turnover-prone interception guy. I don't think Marcus Freeman liked him either. I mean, we went 9-4, but Alabama fans, calm down. Stephen A., calm down. I know you were panicking about Alabama earlier today on First Take. Calm down. It's not over. It's just 1-1. We can't determine the season by 2 games. We can't determine that. So
yeah,
that's it for that. Texas, we'll see how good they are. Like I said, I need evidence from Texas. We've heard Texas was back for the last 4 years. What have they done? Nothing. Alabama's been up there. They've been in the top 4. I understand they didn't make it last year because they didn't beat LSU and Tennessee, but hey, you don't have Bryce Young, Mac Jones, Tua, AJ McCarron. I mean, you don't have those quarterbacks no more. You go into a new direction, mobile quarterback system now. So we'll see how that goes. Colorado, ladies and gentlemen, it was personal this week. It was very, very personal. Oh my God, Colorado. Now, Colorado was not going to lose to Nebraska, but if you watched the first half of the game, Nebraska defense was on point. The Nebraska defense, oh my God. I picked a parlay that says whoever wins the first quarter. 3 of those games got voided. One of them was, I think, this game. The other one was Notre Dame and NC State. The other one might have been Utah and Baylor. All those games were 0-0. But this game was 0-0 all the way until 5 minutes in the second quarter. Nebraska came up with a good game plan. The problem is they just fumbled the ball. I mean, the Georgia Tech transfer, mishandled snap, the interception. Nebraska lost this game probably by the third quarter. The defense of Colorado did excellent. It was better. Very better defense because last week Colorado defense was horrible. The offense stepped up. This week the offense was slow. Then it turned up. The defense was better. It was 36-14, but it was personal. Matt Rule came out and just ranted about Deion. He talked bad about Deion. I wouldn't say bad, but just some of the things. It didn't seem like it was a bad press conference to me. I had to rewatch it, but then it was some of the things like, oh, they got his name on a poster for a reason. That might have been a little bit disrespectful with the whole poster thing and whatnot. But do you believe in Colorado? Because I don't think your 7-5 and 6-6 prediction is going to go really well by the end of the year.
Yeah, I'll shift it from 7 so at first when I said 7-5 was being generous, I do think now 7-5 is going to be on obviously the lower end. I'll move it to 8 or 9 wins. And I want them to prove me wrong. But it's just in the history of, and like I said, I want to be wrong about this, but I'm not going to just fully commit to, oh my God, these guys are like the next coming of Jesus at this point, Now, with like what you said, it was personal, and I love the fact that, I mean, obviously this is Deion Sanders' son, right? So he's going to have that chip on his shoulder because it's got to be hereditary. Deion rolled like that when he was in the NFL, when he was in college, and he's rolled like that since he's become a coach too. So it was no surprise to me that Shedeur came out and said, like, this is personal. And it really just speaks to how great of a competitor he is. I think every great competitor that you see in any sport can take the slightest hint of disrespect. Now, Rule was obviously throwing a little bit of sneak disses in that press conference a little bit. So it's not the hardest thing to decipher. Like, you knew what he was talking about. But it's like in The Last Dance with Michael Jordan that the Utah coach said, "Hey, Mike, hope you have a great game." And Mike was like, this guy, and like, that's all I needed. So, I like that Shedeur has that. And it seems like this entire squad has it. And another thing that I got wrong, I didn't realize how close Deion was to a lot of the kids that he brought over. Like the running back, apparently he'd been coaching him since he was like 6 years old. Obviously, he's got Shiloh on the other end. They're like his other son, and he's doing just as well-ish as Shedeur is on the offensive side. Travis Hunter calls him Pops. This is a tight-knit group of guys. And I do see 9 wins as a very, very strong possibility for the squad. And you can game plan as well as you want, speaking like on the Nebraska side of things. But I think at the end of, like you said, 5 minutes into the second quarter, the talent just overtook the game plan. You can game plan as good as you want, but if you don't have the guys to match up with who's on the other side of the ball, you're not going to be able to hang around too long. Now, obviously, we've seen it, like we just talked about with Texas losing to Kansas last year. Obviously, Texas has way more talent than Kansas, and they still found a way to lose. So I'm not just going to automatically write off, you can game plan as well as you want. But in this case, that's true. They game planned very well. Defense came out very fast. They were playing great, but they just couldn't keep up with the talent that Colorado brought over in the transfer portal.
Well, I got something for all Colorado fans. I believe in Colorado. ladies and gentlemen, Colorado's going to beat USC. Colorado will beat USC. I'm trying to tell you, Caleb Williams versus Shedeur Sanders, it's going to be something special. But I got Colorado beating USC. The only teams I got them maybe losing to is Oregon and Utah. That's what's going to happen. Colorado will shock the world. They will beat USC on September 23rd or 30th, whenever they play. They're going to shock the world in Boulder, and they're going to upset USC. That's what I believe. It is going to happen. It will happen because in the Lincoln Riley defense, they don't have a defense.
No,
I mean,
dude,
look what Lincoln Riley had when he had Kyler Murray.
They can't tackle a soul, brother.
Look what Lincoln Riley had when he was at. Look what Lincoln Riley had when he was at Oklahoma when they made it to the college football playoff against LSU. Destroyed. When they made it to the college football playoff against Alabama. Destroyed. They don't have a defense. When you under the Lincoln Riley system, they never have a defense. I'm taking Colorado over USC. My final prediction is Colorado is 10-2 by the end of the year. But by the way, Colorado this week plays Colorado State. It's at like 10:30. I'm gonna watch that because primetime Deion Sanders made Colorado national television TV. So I'm going to tune in at 10:30 at night and watch Colorado play. I don't care what the competition is. I want me some Deion, some primetime Sanders, and like Skip Bayless says, that's a man I wouldn't bet on, but he'll bet on LeBron James or bet against LeBron James, but you don't bet against Coach Prime. The only two people in the world I don't bet against, Nick Saban and Coach Prime. Those are the only two people I don't bet against. And I'm not betting against Coach Prime. I'm not going to do it. I want them to win. I want them to have some success. But Colorado will easily go 3-0. They're going to smack Colorado State. But the USC game will be breaking news, top-notch news. It'll probably be on College Game Day. It probably is on College Game Day. And probably the Pat McAfee show because, you know, the Pat McAfee show is now on ESPN. So, great fans. It's going to be great media. That's all I got to say about that. But
they got to get that under control, though, because I don't know if you saw the overhead view of the stadium. It was 50-50 red and black, man. Like, now, obviously, Nebraska has a very diehard fan base. I'm not going to – they're very similar to Virginia Tech in that sense. You know, like the fans ride hard regardless of how good the team is. So I'm not going to put anything, past Nebraska's fans. But, I mean, first home game of this new tenure and the entire lower bowl of a home game is red. That was a little – now, obviously, that doesn't do anything to the guys on the field when it comes down to execution and stuff. But when it comes to a big game against like USC and, they've got Utah and Oregon and all that, like you need that energy from your fans to try to, sway it more to your side in games that should be closer, given that the talent is more similar than it was in this game. Like I think both of us expected Colorado to win this game. That wasn't really like in the forefront of our minds as being like the upset of the week or anything like that. But fan base of Colorado, get your stuff together, man. Start packing that stadium in black and gold.
Well, yeah, but also here's this. I was peeping something else, by the way, and somebody had a podcast just on Utah football, and it was a guy, I don't know the name, it was a guy and this girl. They don't like primetime Deion Sanders. They were mad, I don't know what they were mad about, but they were talking about how the prices was really high. They're by the way, I want to bring this up because it's real funny, by the way. He thinks that Shedeur Sanders can't play in this type of environment. Well, I understand it's 2 games. And he thinks he can't play in this environment. The Colorado tickets are too high. Oh, my God, the tickets are like $412 a piece. Hey, it's the prime time effect. If Utah loses and Deion Sanders hears that, that's going to be personal. That is just going to be so personal if he would have heard the stuff this man and this girl had to say on the Utah football podcast. I can't believe the stuff this man said. It's too high.
Dude, that's every sport. That's every
it's
sport.
college football.
A good team is going to have high ticket prices in any sport in the world. That is how it works. We are in a capitalistic society, brother. That is how it works. If demand is high, then the price will be high. That is economics 101. That's how it is. All right. Supply and demand. You should be getting taught that in middle school government classes, dude. So I heard some of the same stuff. It should not be a shock to anybody. If the demand is high, the supply is obviously not as high because there's a limited number of seats in a stadium. Yeah, the ticket prices are going to go up for must-see TV. Sorry, continue. That's ridiculous.
I know, but look at this. Virginia Tech isn't that good as of right now. But we'll get that. That'll be in the next episode. Virginia Tech isn't that good, but they're still selling out seats at home. They're still selling out home games, and we were 3-8 last year. Selling out home games. We were 3-8. Selling out home games at 3-8. I mean, that doesn't happen. Colorado was 1-11. Nobody went to a Colorado game. I mean, Vanderbilt might have won like 3 games last year, 2 games, 4 or 5. Missouri was down there at the bottom too. Most of those teams they lose, they don't sell out tickets. Virginia Tech still selling out tickets at 3-8. I went to a Tech game and they were sorry as shit last year. They were sorry as shit last year and I still went to a Tech game. It's all about the passion. It's all about the pride. I mean, Jesus Christ, hey, they sold out at home. They still suck. Hey, the fans are loyal. It's all about the fans. It's all about loyalty. But then it brings to the next topic because is Miami back? Texas A&M gets blown out by Miami. Oh, Miami with that 5 touchdown passes. Oh my God. Is falling off. By the way, we predicted this to be a low-scoring game, and it was the exact opposite.
Yeah.
What do you think about the A&M and Miami game?
I think now, no discredit to Miami. I obviously have a little bias given that they're a rival for Tech, so I'll push that aside for now. Let me talk about A&M first. They had the number 1 recruiting class in the country last year. They had high hopes last year. They fell short. They have another great recruiting class going into this year. The same dudes from that number 1 class last year should have been elevated, gotten better, filled in the gaps of the guys that were leaving, and this team should have performed better. And I as much as I don't want to say it because I do love Jimbo, he needs to get his stuff together. He's going to be gone soon. I don't care how many top recruiting classes you pull together. If you're going to be losing games to teams that you should be handling easily, given the difference in talent, what else can you do to get fired? Honestly, what else can you do? This is not a Miami team that was predicted to do anything great this year at all. The projections were like bottom half of the ACC, like 6 down from everything I read in the ACC. They were not supposed to be this great team, and they came out and just whooped them. Quarterback had a great game, obviously, like you said, and I think it's more on A&M than it is to Miami. All the credit in the world to Miami. They won this game. They dominated this game. But A&M is just falling short of every expectation set. They did it last year, and it seems like they're doing it again this year. I don't see Jimbo making it. I'm like, if he makes it through this year and then comes out next year with another good recruiting class and starts falling short, I don't see him making it through next season.
Well, they got Wegman. I think Wegman's a pretty promising quarterback, despite they had I forgot who they had last year. He's a starting quarterback from Georgia Tech this year. Can't remember his name right now. But I think Wegman has some good promise. I mean, he could keep the interceptions down just a little bit. But the Texas A&M defense, they have DJ Durkin as defensive coordinator. He was the former Maryland coach. I think he got fired because I guess one of his players died and all this other mess. Surprisingly, he got another job. But the Texas A&M defense has never been a strong suit. A&M has a really tough schedule as well. They do play Alabama in October. If you can't beat Miami, I'm not sure if you're going to beat Alabama. That depends on if Alabama's quarterback play is going to improve or it's going to suck the next 5 weeks. Because I don't think it's going to suck the next 5 weeks. But when it comes to A&M, ladies and gentlemen, the 12th man, Johnny Manziel, all this other stuff, the tradition, A&M has failed expectations tremendously. Remember that COVID year, A&M went 9-1? That COVID year, 2020? They went to a bowl game. They won 9 games and lost 1. I mean, they were 9-1. That was a good A&M team that I want to see from Jimbo Fisher. A guy that brought tradition and winning from Florida State to A&M in 2020, 9-1. All of a sudden, they had a losing season last year. The year before, they were, 8-5. I don't know what the expectation is for A&M. They can't fire Jimbo Fisher because they paid him too much money. His buyout's going to be about $75 million. So if you fire him, it's going to cost you. You know what I'm saying? It's not the Ed Orgeron situation where Joe Burrow, they had a stacked team and then they weren't going to be good because recruiting class was going to go down and nobody wants to go to an older coach, no offense. Now you got Brian Kelly, which is a little bit different now, but I think for Texas A&M, they're going to be stuck with Jimbo Fisher probably the next 2 more years. That buyout contract is too much. I don't think any AD in college football wants to pay a coach $75 million just to fire the man. So I don't know how much time we're going to give A&M. I know they've been going through some stuff. They've been going through a lot of people transfer at A&M as well. I don't know how much stuff you can keep going on for, but at the same time, A&M is in trouble. And I think I've said this before. I think Jimbo Fisher, I said it earlier this month, or not earlier this month, a couple months ago when Lambeau's World Sports became his official show, that Jimbo Fisher is on the hot seat. But then that recaps to week 2 of the NCAA games. We're going to recap some. We're going to recap this game as well. In Notre Dame versus NC State. Surprisingly, Notre Dame beats the crap out of NC State. Now, it was a lightning delay. The lightning struck the scoreboard in NC State. I know somebody that went to the game. It was puddle. It was everywhere. It was a very close game. Like I said a couple of days ago, it was going to be very close. And I was nervous because I think Sam Hartman turned the ball over. We got a fumble, an interception, a pick six of some type or something. No, Sam Hartman threw it. I think we got like a fumble or something.
A fumble, yeah.
And I was getting really, really scared. I was getting really, really scared for doing that. I said, uh-oh. This is what I was talking about against tough teams on the road. NC State had them, but then Notre Dame broke their hearts at the end of the 3rd quarter to the 4th quarter. Offense, defense, Brennan Armstrong, which is tapped out. What are your thoughts on this game? It was close in the first half, despite the delay. Is a delay an excuse? Because the next episode we'll be talking about the Tech game as well. But is a delay an excuse? Because I think I'm hearing a lot of delays as an excuse, or is it part of the game?
I think it's just part of the game, and it's the same principle as when people were complaining about how bad the field was in the Super Bowl, where like the Eagles were slipping on defense, blah blah blah. Well, guess what? The Chiefs had to play on that same field. So when it comes to this game, it's the same thing in principle. Both teams had to wait during that delay. Both coaches had time, if they wanted to make any adjustments they thought that they saw fit. And both sets of players had a little bit of extra rest, which might not be the greatest thing when you're hyped up, ready to go for a game, and then you have to sit and wait. But I don't think it can be an excuse because both teams are dealing with it. Both teams have to go through that same exact thing. So for one team to say, it was because of the delay, I would love to hear what the rebuttal would be against, okay, so did Notre Dame. Both teams had to sit through the same amount of time in the locker room waiting for the game to resume.
Oh, yeah. Well, Notre Dame plays a very, very easy schedule, by the way. They play Central Michigan. So that's an easy one before they play Ohio State. Sam Hartman has done great for 3 games. He's thrown no picks. Notre Dame defense is very, very stepped up as well. Like I said, I'm happy right now, but I'm not happy until we play Ohio State. Now, Ohio State does have some weaknesses that we'll talk about in the next episode where we'll recap the rest of the week 2 games and the stuff that I was wrong about. And then we'll be talking about Virginia Tech and how they lose to Purdue and Oregon barely escapes Texas Tech. That will be on the next episode of Lambo's World of Sports. So Lambo's World of Sports, presented by Silent Sports Network. We will catch you in the next minute as we will recap more college football, and then we'll also probably go into updates what our records are for as far as predictions for college football, because my NFL one later in the next 30 minutes is just horrible because there's teams that sold me this weekend, but we'll get into that in the next 45 minutes. But Total Pro Nation, Lambo's World of Sports. I'll catch you later on. Peace.